Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ding, ding.
Cheers.
Ding, cheers.
You said I'm the first woman?
Yeah.
First woman.
Woo, cheers.
Cheers.
Choose again.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Close the Gap podcast. I'm your host, JR. Y'all know the vibes. If you guys really like what y'all see, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment. Again, I appreciate all the love that you guys have been sharing. Thank you guys so much. The giggling and everything. You gotta love it. This woman that I have on my right-hand side of me, I met her while doing a project, not even just a project, an epic project that changed a street name in a very large city. A movement.
A movement.
Yeah, a movement, right? And
It's a movement.
we met then, and I asked her to be on the podcast for a few reasons. One was the work ethic that you showed during that project was amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you were on the text thread just going like, "Hey, this is done. JR, you got to, do this." And this is, and you were moving. Secondly, you are the first female interviewer that I've had that is a business owner, and you're Hispanic.
Yes.
So, de lo mío, mi gente.
De lo mi.
Aquí está, so
La
I
raza.
definitely, that's right. So I want to introduce everybody to Sandi. Hi. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Sandi, can you give what's your origin story? Can you give the viewer some idea of who you are?
So I'm a small business owner. I own a fitness studio in Scott's Addition.
Yeah.
Do we need to stop?
No, we keep it going. We'll keep it going.
Hi. That's one of my instructors that's coming in to practice.
See, as you guys can tell, business never stops.
Never stops. So I own a fitness studio in Scott's Addition. We are a unique fitness studio because we specialize in dance and strength training, which is kind of different. Nobody's really done it that way.
Right.
And when I say dance, it's like cardio, dance, fitness. And then like when I say fitness, I think strength training, like boot camps, and we do a surf class. So we're in this unique niche of boutique fitness. Before that, I was a longtime journalist. I worked as a news producer for 23 years. In 5 different markets. I'm originally from South Texas.
Okay.
I'm Mexican-American. I'm a 5th generation Texan. I'm a mom. I have 3 little boys. They are 16, 11, and 8. I live in the far West End in Short Pump, and then I
commute all the way out.
Then I kick it in the city during the day.
Right.
So I live the dualities of what Richmond really is all about. And yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah.
So then what were you doing in the media world?
So I last was an executive producer. It means that I oversaw a team of producers who build a newscast. So most people think that, when you watch the news, you see someone's face on TV and you think that's the anchor, that's the reporter, and they're driving the bus. But really there's a lot of people behind the scenes, people like me, who were writing the newscast, laying it out, kind of, this is what we'll open with, this is the breaking news, this is the next story, here's weather, they're laying out the whole plan of what the show's going to look like, and writing all the content. And then they're, a producer also is, meeting with the directors and the graphic artists and the social media team, and you name it, the salespeople, everybody, and is trying to stay on brand, keep the content accurate, know that they're checking everything for facts and it's balanced, and then making sure that the reporters who are out in the fields are gathering all the information that's coming back in house and it's going to be presented and showcased correctly. So that's their job, and then ultimately you take it to the booth, what we call the booth, where we see people with the headsets, take camera 1, take camera 2. So that's the director. And the producer sits right behind him. It's kind of like the pilot and the co-pilot. and you time out the show and you make sure it gets in on time, you make sure it gets out on time. So, everything's clock driven at the end of the day because you got to get those advertisements in. So that's the job of the producer. It's a very big job, and usually it's a younger person that comes right out of college and they take that job and then they stay in it for a while and then they become executive producers and managers.
Did you always want to do that?
I knew I always wanted to be in some sort of communications.
Okay.
I knew really young.
Okay.
I was the little kid who would like write poems and write stories.
Yeah.
And loved to talk and knew that I was going to do something like that.
Right.
Really early on. Like I told my mom when I was probably 7, I'm going to write a book. And she was like, well, there's not a lot of money in writing books and people have to want to buy your book.
Hold on. Hold on. I've heard the same thing from my parents. I remember, and this was, but my dream was like far-fetched. I think I told my parents I wanted to be a rapper. Yeah. I had like no bars, you know what I'm saying? I can't even kick a quick 6. Like, that'd be awful. But like I told them, and then my parents was like, there's no money in that.
Yeah.
I was like, aw.
That might be the Latin way, though.
I think it might
Latino
be.
Family, they're Latino... like, oh, whatever, you got no dreams.
Right, yeah, like, you got to go to school, and no art. Yeah, let me tell my family I did art. They would have looked at me like, are you crazy?
No, I know. No, my mom, when I told my mom I wanted to be a journalist, she was like, no, you need to be a lawyer. And I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. She was like, well, you like to argue, so you should be a lawyer.
Yeah, I got that too,
right? And then make a lot of money. I'm like, no, I don't want to be a lawyer. I knew I wanted to do something. Journalists are basically, civil servants. We're here for the public.
Yeah.
Like I said to you, earlier, like it's written in the Constitution, freedom of the press. It's one of our, rights as Americans to have the right representation. That's why we're not, getting fed propaganda. But so for me, that was like what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a part of that, and I knew that I was a good writer. I enjoyed it, and I knew that I was comfortable speaking to people, and like public speaking was a good thing. So I did. I thought I was going to be an Oprah Winfrey. I was like, I did say that. I was like, I'm going to be like an Oprah Winfrey. I'm going to be an anchor. And then I got into college and I started taking the classes, and I was like, maybe I'm going to be Oprah Winfrey's producer. Like,
maybe I'll do this. Right.
I'll just produce for Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but like I knew that was the industry I was going to work in, and I wasn't really sure what my job was going to be. I just knew that that's where I belonged. Those were my people.
So did you start off in Texas, or did you come, I guess, south or east or wherever, right?
So I went to college in a small city called Kingsville, Texas.
Okay.
Home of the King Ranch. You probably have seen Ford pickup trucks, and they say King Ranch
Edition. Yeah.
That's a real place.
Is it?
It's the largest. It used to be. It's the largest ranch in the United States, like land-wise, and they raise their own cattle there. That. And a piece of the land that the Clayburghs or the Kings gave originally was my land given to my university.
Right.
When I started going to school there, it was called Texas A&I, and then eventually it was purchased by the A&M system and became Texas A&M Kingsville. So during the middle of like my sophomore year, the name changed of the school, which was like a big scandal. But it's about 45 minutes south of Corpus Christi, where I was born and raised. Well, for the most part, raised in that area. And so I didn't go too far away from home, and home for me was a little town called Portland, which was it's like saying you're from Richmond, but you grew up in Ashland.
Okay.
Yeah. So you kind of grew up in this bubble, but like you could drive to Richmond really quickly.
Right.
I could drive to Corpus Christi really quickly. My grandparents lived there. So Corpus Christi has its own television market. Radio market.
Okay.
It's very small. At the time, it was like Market 129. There's 200 markets in the United States. So the bigger the number, the smaller the market. So it was a very small station. There were 3 stations. I went to work for the NBC station there called KRIS, and I started as an intern, and then I got hired as a production assistant. I worked there part-time during college, and before I graduated from college, I was hired as a producer, and I was producing their overnight newscasts. So it went on at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. and got off at 8 a.m. And so I worked there at that station for probably 5 years through college.
Yeah.
And then I knew, unlike most people, that I wanted to move away. I did not want to live my life in Texas.
Right.
I knew, I watched a lot of television, and I saw a lot of other places, and I was like, I want to be in California. I want to be in New York. I want to be in Florida. I want to be somewhere else. Like, I've lived my whole life in Texas, and I want to see everything else, and especially South Texas. If you know anything about Texas, it's huge. And that part in particular, it looks a little bit like Florida. It's just, hot all the time, and there's the beach and Padre Island. And so I was like, I can just taste fall. Like, give me something else.
You want winter.
I need a winter. I need fall. I want some seasons. And so I moved away. In 1998, I moved away and took a job in Norfolk, Virginia. And I was working at WVEC, which is Channel 13, their CABC station. I was their weekend producer, and I would fill in a bunch of newscasts. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I moved to Birmingham, Alabama. Probably not the best decision, but I went to work there, and I worked at the Fox station there. And then I moved to Florida and worked in Tampa at a station called Bay News 9. And then 9/11 happened. And I was kind of in this flux so right around Tampa, I guess I'd say, I got burned out. I was still young, but I got burned out. I'd moved around a lot, and I felt like I just took a breather. I went to work for a nonprofit. I went to work for the American Cancer Society for about a year.
Right.
And I also worked for the YMCA for a little bit. So I did some...
I did too.
Yeah, so I did some nonprofit work, and I was working a little bit in fitness. I was teaching a dance fitness program there. And 9/11 happened, and I looked up one day, and I was like, I need to be back in a newsroom. I need to be using my degree again. And I need to give my skills back to the United States or to our country. Like, we're in duress right now.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just go anywhere. I mean, I went and I interviewed at different stations. Miami was one of them, and I got a call from Richmond, Virginia, and they were like, would you like to come here and interview for us? And I was like, is that like Norfolk? Because I was really happy in Norfolk.
Yeah.
Because I'd go back if it's like that. They were like, yeah, it's just.
It's kind of.
It's not like it at all. It's not like it at all. And so I came in and I interviewed and I walked around the fan in the museum district, and I felt like, I could do this. I could be here.
Right.
And so I came back, and that was 2001. It was December, right after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never left, so I stayed.
So Richmond is home.
Yeah, I would say now Richmond's home.
So then, okay. So you came after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
You were here. Walk me through that transition from you saying bye to the broadcasting world.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, entrepreneur. I'm jumping into the pool.
I never thought I was going to own my own business. I never dreamed of that for myself.
Okay.
Like I said, when I was a kid, I knew I'd be a writer.
Yeah.
And I think one day I might write a book. I really think I have stuff to say.
I'll read it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll mail you a copy. But I didn't think about owning my own brick and mortar business. I never thought of that.
Okay.
Ever. What I thought was going to happen was that I was going to work in news for the rest of my life. And then maybe I would turn that into some corporate position that, because that's kind of how I was raised.
Yeah.
Mija, you'll go to college and you'll get a degree and you'll get a good job.
Right.
You'll make a lot of money and you'll work for someone else and then you'll retire.
That's exactly what I heard. You're gonna go to school and a job, and get a good job. Now it's so scary because I don't think I can say that to anyone anymore. Yeah. Because a job isn't secure.
No.
I mean, at all,
no.
regardless of what degree you have, because if they can be quick to say, well, we don't have any money, everybody gone, we're closing our doors, or you can leave.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I heard that, mijo, mira, school, and then a good job.
Right.
Because my family, I'm a first generation here in the United States. My dad came from El Salvador. My mom's from Dominican Republic. So they're immigrants.
Right.
So, I still remember standing, doing the Pledge of Allegiance for my dad's, like when they got their green card and they did all that. But we were
his citizenship.
For his citizenship. Thank you. Right. I was in the courtroom with my, and I did.
That's so sweet.
The Pledge of Allegiance.
That's sweet.
But just saying all that, I get that. Like when you said that, things just replayed in my head of just hearing school, job, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I only did. I had a dance program. I think I told you. I found it in Birmingham.
Right. The YMCA?
No. I went to this little gym. It was a boutique gym just like this. And they had this dance class there. And I found it and I loved it. And then when I moved to Florida, to the YMCA, I started one there.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved to Richmond, started another one. So, but for me, that was like a de-stressor.
Right. Not like a career.
Not a career. I had a career.
Yeah.
I thought this was just a way I want to work out. It would be like the same as going and lifting in the gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the way I'm going to work out. So I'm just going to take this program with me wherever I go. It would be like the same as like putting in a DVD and someone's working out and you're like, well, this is what I do. I just shared it with a bunch of other people.
Right,
and they want to do it too.
Right.
And so, but it grew and it created, and I grew a following. There were women that only wanted to do that.
How did you create that following?
I think it's a couple of things. I think that the program fed people who used to dance and used to cheer and used to be on like color guard for like marching band. It really like quenched a thirst that like, I grew up doing all of these kinds of dances and then I graduated from college and now what? Like I'm not on a dance team anymore. I'm not going to go do that anymore.
Right.
And when I was doing that, I was really thin. I stayed in great shape because it didn't feel like a workout, but I was really working out.
Yeah.
So they loved that. And so when I brought this dance program, it was kind of like reliving all of that, but turning it into fitness. It's like, I already knew how to do that. And now I'm using it still to stay thin. And so it was like, it was a good, unique thing that no one was doing. And like I said, it was pre-Zumba and it was like way after jazzercise. So there was like really, in the fitness industry, there was really nothing like that.
So you filled a void.
I created, there was a niche for it. There was a market for it. People wanted it, but they just didn't know it yet.
Yeah,
they didn't know it.
Right.
And, I think too, there was a couple of things, because it wasn't my job, because it wasn't my career, I could love it more. And so that shined through. It was like, I'm not doing this for the money. So when you're not doing something for the money and you just love it, it like pours out of you. And so, I think the energy was infectious. I mean, I remember like going the first time and teaching class and walking in and standing in front of all these students and they were wearing like, it was like 19, like I told, or it was like 2000, it was like 2002, 2003. And women would come in the class, and at the time, gym clothing was like taking your boyfriend or your dad's old T-shirt, and maybe you wore a pair of soccer shorts, long or whatever, and you rolled them up, or you took a pair of sweatpants and you cut them up. Guys were still going to the gym wearing like gray sweats and a sweatshirt, right, all sweaty, walking around with gym belts on. Like that was like the look.
That was the style, right there. Right.
Gym clothing kind of sucked in 2001 and 2002.
Yeah. No, it did.
You wore what you had. You're like, smells clean. Let's put it on.
Right.
And it wasn't about looking cute. Now, occasionally you saw a girl in there and she was just in her sports bra, right?
Yeah.
And like maybe some, big shorts or maybe some tight bicycle shorts. They were
bicycle shorts at the time, yeah.
Right. So, and you'd be like, oh, that girl. Ew.
Yeah, what is she wearing?
Why is she wearing that? She just wants everybody looking at her. Right. So
the dude's like, yo, you see what she's wearing?
Yeah. And so then they weren't taking those girls seriously either. It was like, so the gym makeup at the time was all weird. It was just like girls had their side of the gym, men had their side of the gym. Right. Fashion was all over the place. And then the classes that they offered, were just like, I don't know, they were mostly weightlifting to choreography. There was not really this dance class.
Right.
So I really just came in at the right time.
Right.
I remember standing in front of this group of women and, I'm wearing like basically like dance clothes. Like I'm a dancer, so I'm wearing like, like a dance go top that might be like, cut, cropped, and dance pants, which were the first form of yoga pants. They're a little bit wider, but they like fit. They're that knit material.
Right.
If you think about like movies about jazz dancing or things like that, those were the clothes that the ballerinas and jazz dancers wore.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm wearing, and like dance sneakers for dance. And these women are behind me, and they're in their cutoff shorts and their big baggy t-shirts, and they all look like, we call them, no offense, we call them gym rats. They all look like gym rats, right? Like they're just like in whatever they have to work out in. They don't care. And, I'm sitting in front of them, I'm teaching this dance fitness class. And about a month later, I look behind me and everybody's starting to look like me.
Right. Everybody got you. Everybody got your style. Right.
Yeah, because it becomes this thing. It became a
because
way.
Your energy, right? Because like you were just saying, because you came in with that pure joy, and you're not here for the money, and you had this vibe, right? And it's contagious, and everybody who's catching that vibe, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to grab onto anything. Your clothes, the way you behave when you're dancing. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a certain turn that you just like are killing it, and they're like, "Yo, I want to feel that joy." Yeah. Which is really cool, right? Because I think business owners, and this is just me just talking based off of my experiences with business owners, you have those business owners that still have that joy. Yeah. When they first started. Mm-hmm. And it could be 10, 30 years. I had an interview with the jeweler, Jay Sharp, here in Richmond. You can tell in his voice that he still had the passion of creating jewelry. But then you sit down on the other side of the coin, you have these other business owners that you don't. It's like, damn, why are you still doing it? It sounds like you are the most unhappiest. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be that guy. But I mean, the whole point, the point of me even mentioning that is just awesome how you saw that transition because of who you are, who you brought to the stage, and that energy.
I think some of it was that. I think the other thing is I started to introduce a different workout to women. Right. And it was dance-based. Right. And you bent over and you kicked your leg high and you did turns and you and suddenly you recognized that the clothes you were wearing were maybe not the right clothes because maybe like when I bend over, I don't want everyone seeing everything in my shorts, or when I fan my leg over, like I don't want to, right. Or when I'm like just dancing and jumping, I don't want my t-shirt to be so big and boxy. I want to feel like I'm in control of my dance movements, not like my clothing's inappropriate. Right. And plus the better my clothing looked, the more it matched, right? The better I felt when I walked into the room, so the harder I was going to dance. And so there was like, it was all of this, and it was part of like a wave and a momentum of changing fitness for women. And even now, like I look at it now, I see all these programs like CrossFit and you name it, bar, and the women are wearing these really cute outfits, and women are like stacked, man. You like see all their big biceps and their six packs and their quads, and I'm like, yes.
They scare me.
No, but it's for me, it's like yes. We are finally at a place where a woman can modify her body and look strong, or look like a dancer or whatever she wants, and that's totally acceptable, or it should be, right?
No, it is. I think you're right.
Because it used to be, like I said, it used to be like the gym bunnies, like look at that girl, she's wearing the bike shorts and a little bra, and now it's like no, man, she's here to be serious too. She just needs that inspo. The outfit is, her inspo.
And I think that's tight because as a father of a young daughter, mm-hmm. like you said, back in the day, if you saw a woman with muscles, and I say it scares me because I'm afraid she might beat me up. I'm not even gonna lie.
I knew what you meant.
You know what I mean? They might take my lunch money. Like, get out of here. Like, no, you're not gonna debo me. You're stronger than me. But it's acceptable. Yeah. And that's what's cool because you can't judge. Now, when a woman walks into a gym, for example, she's there to work as hard or as harder than the men, but if she has muscles, she has a biceps, or she has strong legs, it's not looking at them like, ew. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, okay. Like,
well, I think too, it used to be that when you saw a girl lifting in the gym, sometimes men were just like, they were ogling at her, like, like I want that girl. But I think now that you see a girl and she's shredded, the guy's like, man, I need to lift more. Like, I need to get out. I need to get out there because that chick is shredded. Yeah. And I see that all the time. Like, I'm with guys now that go, that chick is jacked, and I'm like, mm-hmm. And I'm impressed because I know the discipline that it takes to get to that, and I've always known it. I was always very athletic. I played soccer growing up, and I did swim team.
What position in soccer?
I was a midfielder, left midfield.
Oh, me too.
And then I got old and injured, and then I played defense. But that's no shame in my game. I'm still very fast. I just, I think that I was always an athletic type of kid. Right. I did marching band. I did soccer. I did swim team, and I danced. And so for me, like that's, I never like it when it's like, oh, you can't look athletic. You can't have the athletic physique.
Right.
You need to be softer. You need to be skinnier, whatever. So I really like where we are in the fitness world right now. I think that's good. It's good for women, and I think it's good for men too, to just see that, it's all about transformation and discipline. And
so then, speaking about discipline and that transformation, what was that transformation look like for you, and when was that transformation to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get this brick and mortar, I'm going to turn the keys, and I'm going to take control of my own destiny?
Yeah.
When was that, and how did, describe to me that mindset of, you just saying, like we were talking about, I'm going to go for it.
It took a long time. I like I said, I calculated risk. And so it was easy to teach that dance class at that gym.
Yep.
I just walked in, threw my bags down, taught.
Right.
They paid me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to worry about anything. I didn't have to worry about the bills and the lights and the taxes and the insurance. I didn't have to worry about any of that. I stayed there for a really long time, about 7 years, maybe more. Mm-hmm. And then I slowly migrated to a place where I rented studio space.
Okay.
So for 4 years, I rented studio space from the ballroom studio in town.
Okay.
And then I was in charge of the money that I got, but I paid a rent. Again, my name wasn't on the lease.
Yeah.
I didn't have the utilities to worry about.
No, real risk.
Yeah, but I did cut one check, and it went to the lady, right, who owned the place. And then I took in my membership money, and I ran my membership separate of her.
Membership high then?
No, it was higher than it had been at the gym. The gym was very inexpensive, I think. So it was double that.
Okay.
But still less than what people pay now.
Right.
And we did that for 4 years.
Okay.
And through that, I kept getting an even bigger push. So I told you I got one push from my friend Tracy, who said to me, who we have a mutual friendship with. Tracy said, we think you should start your own business. That was back in 2004. But after the second move, when I was kind of doing it for myself, I had another group of women that were like, we think you should do this for yourself. And that noise, that audience got, it's not noise, it was audience got louder.
Yeah.
It was like this chanting, and I was like, oh, maybe I should be doing this for myself. And kind of started to get that confidence.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can take risks, but it's got to be very calculated. And I started to see the numbers, and when I was doing my own numbers and seeing the money coming in and going, I'm not a very good math person, so I did fuzzy math. I'm like, if I had this many people come over and I charged them this amount, I could probably make it work. I could probably get my own studio.
Yeah.
Now I got to just find the right place. And at the time, Scott's Edition, it wasn't even that it was up and coming. It was, for me, it was across the street from Channel 6, which is where I worked.
Right. Convenience.
It was convenient. I could get there if I needed to meet someone quickly.
Yeah.
I could get a lot of studio space for not a lot of money, and I could probably get exactly what I needed, a place big enough to put all the mirrors and the sound system,
right,
and to have 2 bathrooms, and so those were the priorities.
Okay.
It wasn't even about I'm going to be in the hottest neighborhood in Richmond.
Yeah. Because I don't think at that time.
No, 4 years ago
it wasn't like this.
No, 4 years ago, you couldn't get anybody down here. There was hardly anyone driving around.
Right.
It was crazy.
Yeah. I've only been in Richmond, I think, for 6 years, and I was telling Brian earlier, when I was here, I was like, man, driving here, if anybody has been in Scott's Edition in Richmond now, it's an amazing spot.
It is. It's hot.
Breweries, restaurants, people walking up and down.
Yeah.
Legitly, 4 years ago.
It was not.
No, you're not coming down here. There was nothing for you. You don't see the people walking with their dogs, their little dogs. You don't see any of that. And so you saw, but you had a vision though.
Sort of, yeah. I did. I had a dream, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I can make this happen. I had clients tell me they weren't going to come down here. They didn't follow me because I was going to a dangerous neighborhood. But, that's funny to think of now.
Yeah, think of now, right? Looking at this.
It was dangerous, and they didn't.
We just seen a crowd of people wearing the same thing, didn't we?
It was so much, it was so much graffiti. It's funny because it's not lost on me. I see people like that, we just see people walking by right now. But I see people walking around now, and they're in their 60s, and they're holding hands, and you can tell it's a date night. It's a husband and wife, and you can tell they're not from this area. And they're walking around, or I see women pushing their babies now, or young people running through, riding their bikes, and I'm like, man,
right, 4 years ago,
I couldn't get people to come down here. I was like, please come down here,
right?
Please, it's amazing. And actually, crime was really low because nobody was. It's still low, but it was really low then because Nobody was here.
No one. It was
like,
it was
a ghost town.
It was, right? These shops were empty.
It was a ghost town. There was like, those homes and the homes over there and basically 1 or 2 apartments. I mean, it was just not the way it is now.
Right.
And so yeah, that was it. So I worked both at Channel 6 and had this studio.
Okay.
For probably a little over a year. And then I said, that's it. I've got to pick one. It's time to pick one.
Right. What was some of the factors of you saying it's time to pick one?
Selfishly, I had 3 little boys that I felt like I wasn't watching grow up as much as I should.
Okay.
I felt like I was paying a lot of people a lot of money to help take care of my kids.
Right.
Daycares and nannies and after school places and babysitters, and I felt like I was missing out on them going to like field trips and helping in the classroom and things like that. So selfishly, it was part that. I also felt like there was not as much appreciation for me in the newsroom anymore.
Okay.
It was time to advance my career and become a news director or go run another newsroom. I was really kind of getting to the end of the life of a journalist in that newsroom.
Okay.
And it was time to switch gears, but I wasn't ready. I'm not ready to leave Richmond. So it was
right.
like I kind of, I can either go across the street and work at another television station here in town, or I can just get out.
Okay.
And so that was like the second big thing. The third thing, I think, was how much happiness and joy it brought me to walk in here.
Right.
Because, there was a definite difference. I would go to my 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, whatever it was, and I would, have to tell people to do things that they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I need you to go to the bad neighborhood and go cover this murder. I
right.
need you to work late. I need you to work tomorrow morning. I need you to work on your weekend off.
Right.
I had that, and then and then I come over here, and like people are really happy to see me.
And you're happy to be here.
And I'm happy to be here. They like want to dance with me, and they want
right.
to work out with me, and they want to go have beers with me. And so it just became very obvious that like my quality of life, my salary is probably going to be a lot smaller.
Right.
My quality of life was going to be a lot better, and my life experience was going to be a lot better for my family.
Yeah, I think for me, Sandi, is that's where I'm at. Is finding and doing what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And right? And I tell, the viewers and even on, my social media and things of that nature of just doing something that makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not impossible, right? Because like you were saying, you didn't wake up, you weren't 5 years old saying, I'm going to own a dance studio.
No.
Right?
Right.
And
or any business.
But you found, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to find happiness. You just need to do something to make you happy.
Right.
Right? And I think that's what people struggle with now.
Right.
Is that.
Yeah.
Is to find that happiness, and when they find it, is actually doing it. And it's okay. You might have to take little L's, meaning you might get paid less, like you just finished saying.
Mm-hmm.
But you getting paid less, does that mean more time with your family?
Yeah.
Does that also mean you're actually happy when you wake up and you do whatever it is that makes you happy?
Yeah.
Happiness for me is important, especially now, when we hear so much of the other crap that's going on in the world.
Yeah. That
makes you just be like, damn, like, is there anything good in the world? I mean, we talked about that a little bit, offline, when it comes down to what we see on TV. Mm-hmm. I tell you, I get my news on Twitter. I'd rather read it on Twitter than rather looking on TV and seeing the struggle and seeing people be unhappy. So I pushed that, and I love the fact that you were very self-aware of what made you happy, and you were like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. Mm-hmm. And I commend you for that.
Nice.
and I think that's amazing. And yeah. Anyways, sorry, I can keep praising you all day.
I'll take
it. But tell me what's going on now with you in your studio. What's going on?
So I've grown it, and it's still growing, and we're still doing great things, and I love it, and it's still a passion project.
Right. How long have you been here?
So it will be our 5th year in February. February 21st is our 5th year.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
It's a big deal to own a business and go more than a year.
Yeah, I was about to say,
years.
right?
They say if you hit 5 years, then you're officially a success story in business, if you can keep it open for that long. Because it's because most businesses close
their doors, first year.
Yeah. So that's good, right? And I think, I was fortunate. When people think about opening a business, sometimes they just have an idea and then they just forge into an idea, but I was lucky. I had an audience that followed me for years. I grew them from the gym, then I grew them from that ballroom studio. And so that's what's different about my story.
Yeah.
Is that, again, calculated risk.
Yeah.
I didn't just say, you know what, you're right, I have a dance program, I'm going to open my own studio. Come, open the doors, come in. It was like, the group grew and then I opened.
Right.
A lot of people believed in me. A lot of people helped me. A lot of people helped me. It was a village, know. Friends, members, family. It was a lot. I can't say that I did that by myself. There was a lot of people that made the movement happen.
Nice.
But I think now what, I have said before, and I will say again, I always thought it was about this studio. I always thought that it was like, I'm going to take my passion and something I love, and I'm going to open a business, and I'm going to be very successful for that. And now what I see is the studio has afforded me relationships with people. And what my real life's purpose is so different now. Mm-hmm. It's not about owning a dance studio and teaching dance. That's what I thought.
Right.
But what it is about is creating relationships and communities that either orbit the business or orbit around and, kind of become these other things.
That's awesome.
Those are my gifts to the world.
Right.
That I am good at connecting people, that I am good at carrying, throwing a lot of balls in the air that I learned through news.
Yeah.
Or writing that I always had, those passions. Creating, relationships with people I don't know.
Right.
Getting in front of an audience, whether I'm teaching class or talking. It's like those were all skills that I had, and I had them in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that if I kind of shook the whole pocket, that it could create some new thing, and
Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy.
Right, because my parents always said, "Jar, you have the gift of talk." Mm-hmm. Never knew what they meant.
Yeah.
So I got a digital degree. So I'm behind a computer. Who am I talking to?
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm not talking to anybody. And I started realizing when I had conversations with you when I first met you, to anybody, we can actually have a pretty decent conversation. But I didn't know what to do with that.
Right.
But like you just said, if I shake the pocket a little bit, shake my pockets, ta-da. I got a podcast, a whole new thing. So now I use my gift of gap, right, to be able to produce some decent content.
Technology that you already know.
Technology, right? Yeah. And then slide it in, and now I can market.
Exactly.
Right, and I can do it myself.
Yeah.
So before we leave, what advice would you give someone? Really, I want you to think of it 2 ways: general advice to anybody looking to do a transition from a career to open up their own doors.
Yeah. And
really, it's really important for me, again, because I have a daughter, what advice would you give young women, or not even young women, just women in general, to either in corporate America looking to bust open the doors, or corporate, or women just saying, you know what, I'm going to open up my own business.
Yeah.
So twofolds. Advice that you would give just general, right?
Yeah.
And then specific advice that you would give an aspiring woman entrepreneur.
So, God, we could have a chapter 2.
I know, we're going to have to, because we have to talk about this Arthur Ashe eventually.
We have to talk about Arthur Ashe.
Yeah.
So, I think, first of all, if you're going to start a small business, I think it's important. One of the things I follow now, more than anything, is the lemonade stand advice.
Okay.
So when you're a little kid and you think about starting your own lemonade stand, Mommy, I'm going to go sell lemonade out on the street and see if I can make some money. You will just go and sit outside. You'll take a pitcher of Country Time lemonade, right?
Yeah.
Just mix it up. It may not even be Country Time. It could be from Walmart or whatever it is, that brand. Just mix it up with water, put it in a pitcher. You don't even put ice in it. You grab some of your styrofoam cups. You sit outside. You take a poster board that maybe your brother used for his science project. You turn it over on the other side and you write, lemonade, 5 cents.
All right.
And you stick it out. Right. And you sit outside. And they're in the sun, and you wait for someone to buy it. And then eventually they buy it, and you start selling on lemonade. And you walk back in, you're like, Mom, I got $5 today.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, mijo, that's so great.
Right.
So then you get excited. You're like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to, like, sell more lemonade. I'm going to put ice in it. And I'm going to, so now Mom is like, oh, I got to go buy the ice. That's going to cost me 79 cents, right? And, then you're like, and I want these cool cups. I don't want this as styrofoam. I want it to have cool flowers on it or something. And you keep upping the game. The game. And, like, one day, before you know it, you're like freshly squeezed, right? And then like, you got a custom sign made and a custom table, and now your lemonade is, $3 a cup, $4 a cup, and maybe people aren't buying it as much. So like, I think that what happens is when we become entrepreneurs, we get ahead of ourselves and we stop reminding ourselves that it's just about the lemonade. You give good customer service, you give a good cup of lemonade on a hot day.
Right.
It has value at 5 cents, 10 cents.
Right.
Nobody cared about the cup, nobody cared about the pitcher, nobody cared about your cheap sign. No, they just cared about the lemonade. The lemonade. And so what happens though is we start to go, you know what, I need a bigger sign. I'm going to make it out of neon, and I'm going to have crushed ice, and we did an ice machine. It's going to cost me $300. And like, you start to get so far ahead of yourself that you forget what the core thing is. So I'd say that's the number one thing to keep in mind as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
That if you have a service to offer, if you have something to offer, you don't have to go run full speed. You don't, just because, there are a lot of people, when I see people and they have like, high dollar studios or high dollar businesses or whatever, I look at them and go, you've got lots of debt.
Lots of debt,
You've got
right?
lots of debt, which is going to cut into your profit. So, again, I'm not a big math person, but that's fuzzy math right there. Or if that's, clear math to me right there, that you can tell a lot of investors, a lot of debt, a lot of super fancy means you have little profit.
I think you hit on a point, and I know we said we're going to wrap, but we're going to keep going because I love the point that you just made right there. When it's taking your time, you know what I mean? It's because a lot of entrepreneurs, new especially, think they need to go ahead and fill and get debt. Let me get that studio. If we're sticking with the same vertical, let me get this studio. But I need to get the high end system, Sandy. I have to get the hardwoods that got the springs on the bottom. And I got to get all the glass. From the ceiling to the floor. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Right.
And all you really need to do is go back to the lemonade.
Right. Put the floor down.
Put the floor down and get a sub or get a speaker. Get a little speaker.
Right.
And do the dance.
Exactly.
Why get in debt? Because what happens is they're not going to be able to afford that, right? And they're going to have to close their doors because they don't have enough revenue coming in.
Right.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Boom, but you have that debt, and I love the fact that you mentioned that.
So the lemonade stand. Lemonade stand, you got to think about that. That's how it can be this small, and it can grow really, really big. People get too far ahead of themselves, and then they close. I think that's one. I think as a Hispanic woman, I think there are a lot of challenges that I've faced. It's better. I try not to stick on labels. I try not to be like, I'm a Hispanic female business owner. I try to be just like, I'm a small business owner. But I will say that it's difficult. I think that if I come to somebody and I say hey, will you invest? There might not be the same. I have conversations with men who are often approached about by investors who want to give them money, and it's very quick. And I got to tell you, that's never been my story. I've never really had people just throw in chunks of change and saying, I want to help you succeed. I want to help you grow bigger.
Right.
But I do hear it from men from similar businesses, fitness businesses and other kinds of businesses that are kind of in the same wheelhouse. I'm like, man. I do think too that sometimes as a woman, while we can juggle a lot, I think we tend to be a little bit more emotional and a little more attached to things. And I think sometimes even with clients and doing a customer service type of business, people think they can challenge you a little harder.
Right.
But that they wouldn't necessarily, you would never talk to me like that as a man and question my prices or question that, I know it. But, because I'm a woman, you're ready to try to shake me for something less and try to get me to buy,
Right.
And then if you're too hard and you're like, no, I'm not giving in to you like that, it's like, oh, that woman's a bitch,
right.
And so it's just, so there's this and I've heard it about other, women in this industry too. They have reputations for being too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this, people expect you to be a certain way.
So there's a balancing act, it sounds like.
It is. So there is a little bit of struggle. I will say, I was first in my family to go to college, and
Same.
and in my, I had some family members, but it was kind of pieced around, like, I had an aunt, I had a cousin on this side,
Yeah.
It's not like everybody went and they're just the given that we're all going.
Right. Big fact.
And so I will say that, we are in a really good time as women and as Hispanic women, I think, where we can be whatever we want to be, and we can push the glass ceiling as hard as we can, and we can really try hard.
Yeah.
But it's still a little bit of a harder fight,
right,
than some.
But you got to fight though.
But you got to fight
regardless,
mm-hmm.
right? You have to fight. It's a little harder, but I think that builds like calluses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a little, tougher skin.
Yeah.
Because regardless of what business you're trying to get into, it's going to be tough.
Right.
So if you have that thick skin from the adversity or the challenges and those crazy seasons, right? It just makes you a lot stronger.
I will say some of the biggest challenges I faced as a woman were not so much about my ethnicity. I think sometimes people didn't even know what my ethnicity is.
Right.
But I think some of the challenges I faced were when I became a mom, and how the job expectations were that I would deliver, and that my family would be second or last.
Right.
And it was like, my little boy's sick, I gotta go. And it's like, well, look, you gotta decide, what do you want? You want your job,
what do you
or
want
you
to
want
do?
to go take care of that little boy? And like it just was. There was a lot of that, especially in news. It came first. It doesn't stop. And so,
I imagine.
So people. That's why I said people were taking care of my children, and I think that's the hardest part. I think about being a woman.
Right.
And if you're going to have a family, it's that balancing act of like, can I have my career? Can I be a good wife? Can I be a good mom?
Yeah.
Can I have all these things?
Yeah.
And I think that really, we just need to do better as a society in supporting women, working moms, especially. I try to be a villager in more villages. Like when I know somebody who's got a baby and they're like a child care issue, I'm like, well, I got an hour or two, I can help you out. I mean, I definitely know my way around some babies. I can,
right.
I had 3, so I try to offer that as much as I can. Take someone's kid to the museum
awesome.
or help or whatever I can, because I think that's important. There's a lot, when you and I were younger, and even before that, families stayed together. They didn't move away from each other.
No.
Your abuelita took care of you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Your aunt and uncle took care of you, whatever. Maybe mom, you'd call your mom, can you come over and watch the kids? And there was no babysitting charge. They just did it.
No, they just did it.
They just did it because they're family.
Yeah.
So now what happens is I move away from home, I raise my 3 kids, and I'm paying all these people to watch my kids. But normally that would have been done by the family. And it would have been rich on so many levels. I'd have more money. My kids would have quality time with family.
Yeah.
And I would know that everybody was well taken care of and happy. My mom's happy to watch the kids are happy to be with her. It's like that's the way it was.
Right.
It's not like that anymore.
No, it's definitely not.
And so I think if we are going to do better as a society and uplift everyone, we need to be more engaged with each other.
Right.
And helping in those things. You got a friend that wants to start a business, what can I do to help you?
Right.
How can I help you? And not just telling people about your friend's business, but really getting in there and being like, I'm going to really help you.
Yeah, give them some value.
Yeah.
Not just by, like you just said, like not just sitting there like, hey, go to so-and-so's place.
Yeah.
It's really sitting with your friend and being like, hey, let me help you with whatever I'm good at.
Right.
Digital or, the social media or just value.
Well, what I say is what used to happen when we thought about references or when we thought about entrepreneurship, we did something like where we pointed an arrow. Like, I'm going to tell people about you, and then you're going to point an arrow and you're going to tell people about me. And you feel good about that.
Right.
You're like, you're going to refer me, I'm going to refer you. Bye. Okay, good to shake on it. But what I think is better is when you think of things in a circle. I'm going to help you, you're going to help me. You're going to need me, I'm going to help you. And we're going to be there for each other. And it just comes in a circle. It's like you really invest.
Yes.
So it's like, I'm not just going to tell people about your business. I'm going to go work at your business today so that people see that I'm there. And then you're going to come to my studio and you're going to take a class. And then, you're going to have your wife come through. And then, we're going to get together on another project. And it's like, dun, 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 dun. Instead of just lines, because anybody can point lines, right?
Right.
Like that's a
exactly
that's an advertisement. But if you really want to be friends with other entrepreneurs, you need to think about like how you can add value to their business. One of my good friends, well, she wasn't a friend at the time. I met her at a workshop that I did. I led a talk at a women's event on New Year's a couple of years ago, and she was in the audience. And she was an accountant who was launching her own event planning business. Her name is Nadia Anderson. And she came up to me and she loved what I had to say and wanted to know more about my studio. And then she came in and she started taking classes and she became a client, and she came up and she introduced herself again and was like, I was at your workshop. I was like, yes, I remember you. And so she said, yeah, I'm starting my own event planning business. It's called Virginia Grace Events. You know, if you know somebody who wants, you know, event planning, please let me know.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, if, you know, somebody tells me they're going to have a party or they're getting married, I'm going to send them your way. She's like, cool, thank you. Pointing lines.
Yeah.
She walked out of the door, and I remember thinking, I can do better than this. I can do better than this. So I called her, and I was like, can you meet with me tomorrow? She's like, yeah. And I said, I've been thinking about it. How can I help your business and you help my business more than just pointing a line at each other? So I said, you know, we do events here. I do parties for my members all the time. I have a member appreciation party. I might bring a DJ in. Why don't you do those parties for me or help me do them? I'll pay the money and I'll brand it that you're the event planner.
Right.
And then you can tell your clients that you work out
that
here.
Circle.
And then like we'll just connect the circle. And you know what? It worked. And we became best friends actually. And we started referring each other. And it just kind of, and it was like, it had all started with just stopping down and saying like, you know, how can I help you? And then she needed social media help, and I had someone that I knew that I could send her way to help her with social media. Started giving her pointers on her website. She started sending me website copy because she knew that I had done that, you know, in my prior life at Channel 6 or at the television station.
Right.
So I started, you know, reading her website, reading her copy for her, and you know, now when she does events,
like building a small community.
Yeah, she does events, and they're like, we might need press release, we might need PR help. She's like, Sandi, you want to help? So it's like, it just becomes a revolution of...
Sandi, I appreciate your time.
I'm so glad we
Thank
did
you
this.
so much for being here. Can you tell the people where they can reach you at? Social media, anything you want to give them?
Our website is turnrva.com or turncardiojamstudio.com, and we are located at 3105 West Moore Street in Scott's Addition. And just come on by. We're lucky to have everyone come
Stop by,
by,
guys. It's beautiful here. It's beautiful.
Dance, work out, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to meet you.
All right, guys. You guys remember, you guys know the vibes. Thank you guys again for tuning in. If you guys liked it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave your comments. Check Sandi out. Come by the dance studio if you guys are here in Richmond. Again, thank you guys. Peace.